Hey guys, and welcome back to Awaken the Game. My name is Andreas, and I'm looking forward to bringing another channeling through with you today. A few years ago now, I had quite the spiritual activation. During that activation, I lost complete control of my body for 4 hours. I experienced a DNA activation. After I had that experience, it felt like I had a satellite on my head for a period of about a year. And during that time, I was actually quite frightened because I didn't really understand what was going on. I went to the doctors, I went and had MRIs and head scans because I thought there was potentially something wrong with my brain. It felt like the whole side of my head was beaming up to the sky. Like the back and side was always lifting up, and I didn't understand what was going on. All of those medical scans came back to say that there was absolutely nothing wrong. Everything was fine. And the more I relaxed into it, the more I actually let my team come through to me and make the contact with me that they wanted to, the easier and easier it became for me. Now we're at the place where I have been practicing channeling and light language for many years, and I'm able to channel quite freely. I can do both trance channeling, which is where I allow the channel to actually come through my body and pretty much control my body, which is what I'm going to do today. But I also do conscious channeling, which is kind of like what I was doing in the last one, where I'm a lot more involved in it and I'm being given the message from my team, but they're not actually utilizing my body to deliver the message as intently. So today my intention is to do trance channeling, and you might notice a difference in how this shows up if you caught the video last week where we went into the tech outage fail and the American election. We are the Galactic Council of Nine. And we have come to speak to you all today about the twin flame narrative that is being discussed on your earth plane. It isn't that the twin flame concept is new, although we would say that in recent years, the twin flame narrative has been spread through your social media, such as TikTok and other platforms, including YouTube. And we wish to share with you our perspective of what a twin flame means. When we brought this in, Andreas was a little bit critical of our decision to bring about the conversation of twin flames today. He said perhaps there would be more fitting topics of discussion. Yet we would say that twin flame is an important discussion piece to talk to because so many of the newly awakening spiritual souls are utilizing twin flame as the catalyst to their spiritual awakening. And in this way, we wish to provide further depth on the twin flame phenomenon for you to feel into your own hearts and to recognize what feels in alignment with you. There can be miscommunication and deception from the twin flame narrative, and we want the twin flame narrative to be something that supports you. And we want to shed light on this, dispel any myths and misconceptions, and make it clear what the twin flame phenomenon is and is not, so that you can make an informed choice of discernment and resonance, whether or not you put so much focus into the twin flame phenomenon or not. We wish to start by simply sharing what the twin flame phenomenon is. The twin flame phenomenon is when you as a soul incarnate into the human vessel. You separate into two vessels. Your soul splits off into two incarnations that are inherently tied into the one soul body, the one soul individual, you could say. This individual soul normally incarnates as a single soul, but for the purposes of soul growth, has decided to split at the moment of incarnation to create the twin flame. The twin flame phenomenon is not tied into, on what Andreas is asking now, is if I had a twin flame, would I have to be like born at the same moment? No. You would not have to be born at the same moment or in the same place. Yet we would say that for the majority of twin flame pairings, of which there are few on the earth plane, The majority of twin flame pairings are likely to be born within a similar period of time. It is very unlikely that one twin flame would be born 5-10 years after another, for the incarnation takes place. And when that takes place, the soul drops into the body, and whilst that happens, it is usually within a few years of linear time that the soul will choose to split into different bodies. It's not that it can't, it's just that for the most part, this is what the twin flame phenomenon occurrence is. Yes, correct. What we wish to say here is that the twin flame phenomenon is far rarer than one might believe it is. For the twin flame phenomenon has been utilized as a way to find a sense of completion for those that otherwise haven't done inner work, to find completeness within themselves. That is not to say that we are putting blame or that we are trying to negate the twin flame phenomenon. And we are in no way suggesting that if you are watching this and you believe you do have a twin flame or have met your twin flame, that we are telling you that this is not correct. What we would say is that there are far less twin flames in the incarnation experience on the earth plane now than what people believe. It isn't a default occurrence for the individual soul to split into a twin flame soul. And it is certainly not something that souls do. It is not something that souls do without a lot of intention. And so when this occurs, it has been done very purposefully and by design. Often it is that the soul wants to experience a deep, true romance. Often it is that the soul wants to experience a sense of separation from itself and a sense of reunification of itself through another being, as opposed to the standard model, which is to find reunification of yourself through your own spiritual self and your own spiritual practice, reconnecting into your godliness, your essence, your source. So this presents a quite unique, and we are going to give Andreas is quite surprised that we have given him this figure, but we would suggest that it is as little as 3% of the population would have a twin flame. It is not a large percentage of the population. And to mislabel a tumultuous relationship as twin flame is the ego's attempt to explain itself away. It is the ego's attempt to explain a situation so that it makes sense and creates a sense of peace. It isn't that it is wrong, and if it serves the individual to create or to label something as twin flame, then it is entirely appropriate to do so. Why we are sharing this message is that the twin flame phenomenon has become a little bit undernourished. It has become, in a way, a mechanism for human souls to feel like they are lesser than, that they are somehow incomplete without the completion of their twin flame, without finding their twin flame. And we want to dispel this myth that you do not have to find your twin flame in order to feel a sense of completeness within yourself. And to outsource this into the romantic partnership of a twin flame is doing a disservice to your own spiritual development. And we would ask you to question what part of you is not wanting to look in, and it is instead wanting to look out in order to find what you feel is missing. There is nothing missing. Even if you do, in fact, have a twin flame, and you are indeed in the 3% or so of humans that have incarnated with a twin flame, that you have no obligation to actually meet the twin flame in the human experience. And if you were to never meet your twin flame, or to brush up against them, or to have a fleeting experience with them only, you would still be able to find completeness within the soul, because the soul is always complete. If anyone is trying to tell you or sell you the narrative that you are incomplete, we would suggest that you offer your own discernment and not allow that to sink into your being. For if you believe that you are incomplete, then incomplete you shall be. Then incomplete you shall feel. Andreas is asking us to address the soulmate phenomenon, to which we would say this is truly a different situation from the twin flame phenomenon. The soulmate phenomenon is one where the incarnate souls, which are indeed two individual souls, we say the word individual because it appears that they are individual, but as we want to just clarify that as you move up, the soul branches up and up to closer and closer to where you all come from, to source. Ultimately, there is no individual souls, but as you further densify into greater and greater levels of density, especially when we're coming into the third dimension here, yes, an individual aspect of your soul incarnates into the human flesh and body. In this way, Andreas is connected to his individual soul, and Andreas is part of a higher collective or branch of souls, which is where many individual souls that are on the earth plane right now are all connected into this, we would say, branch. This is where we come from, the Galactic Council of Nine that Andreas is tuning into now. That's the level that we sit at. And then as we continue up the soul branches, we unify and unify, just like the trunk of a tree, closer and closer to the actual source, the trunk of the tree. So this is how the soul branches work. And when soul mates come into contact, they are choosing at soul level to come together in a form of bond and kinship that has been contracted before the incarnation took place. So when you feel as though you have found a soul mate, it is that you have indeed matched with somebody who you, on an individual soul level, and not all souls have decided to do this, to match with, and in a contractual soul agreement to benefit each other through the experience of whatever that experience may be. And that could be love, and it could also be, tumultuousness and helping you to grow as a soul being. It isn't all just roses. So in that way, soulmates have come in to support the individual soul development. We know that the romantic context is what is most often utilized to explain the soulmate phenomenon, but it is not always in a romantic context that this takes place. In the romantic context, however, it is that your soulmate and yourself are instinctually drawn to each other at the time in your lives when you have decided on a soul level that you would indeed find each other. And for some, this happens early on, and for others, this happens later on in life. And again, we would reiterate that you may not indeed have a soulmate on the incarnate level. This is not to say that you cannot meet loving human beings and other souls that you can experience tremendous levels of growth with. Ultimately, you as a human free will being can create the life that you choose to have. So your free will decisions in every waking moment are what create the realities in your experience. The soul agreements are there as guiding principles to align you along the road. But it is your choice to deviate from them as much as possible. And if your soul has chosen to not focus so heavily on the soulmate experience from a romantic context, there are countless other souls that are in agreement with your soul in all other ways. To provide you with benefits, to provide you with growth. And you will bump up against other souls that you will feel a spark, a connection with. And you will, from that perspective, find love. You do not need a twin flame to find love. You do not need to find a soulmate to experience love in the romantic context. It is just that these are phenomena that have been experienced by many and which we choose to address now. Are there any other questions that you have about the twin flame or soulmate experience, Andreas, that you would like us to answer? If you are worried that you do not have a soulmate, we would ask you to instead be not so fixated upon whether or not you have a soulmate, and instead work upon the love that is required to have a relationship that you desire. For when you focus in on the love that is within you and the giving of that love to another and then receiving that love back, that is what ultimately creates the resonance and vibrational frequency which brings that lover towards you. To focus solely on whether or not you have a twin flame or a soulmate puts you into an analytical perspective, which in many instances can block the flow of the actualization of that person coming into your life. Should you feel as though you truly have a twin flame, and this place of twin flame knowing comes from indeed a place of inner knowing, rather than from a place in the mind that is attempting to find a justification or an explanation as to the experience you're having on the earth plane. We would suggest that you trust this and you find the ways to feel complete without needing. For in this trust and knowing that you are complete, you will bring forth the twin flame. For the twin flame reunification process takes place organically and naturally. It isn't something you must work towards. So to take yourself out of the pursuit of trying to find your twin flame puts you into the trust and the knowing that the twin flame is already upon you, whether it is now or whether it is 20 years down the track, or whether it has already occurred. If you truly believe in your heart that you have a soulmate or soulmates, we suggest that you similarly work upon your frequency to be in love, to feel complete, to give and to receive freely and joyfully. This is the best way we can offer you to bring forth the calibration of the loving frequency that you desire into your body and into your environment and into your aura. And if you, like Andreas, feel as though you do not have a soulmate, we have explained to Andreas that he has incarnated without the need for a soulmate, as though his soul had other fish to fry, other things that it wants to experience with more focus and intention than the soulmate experience. There have been many countless other lives where the soulmate experience was the sole focus of the incarnation, you see. It is only when Andreas pulls into the individual aspect of this life that he could choose to say, well, I am unworthy of love, or I don't get love, or I don't get to experience. And this, to which we would say, this isn't true. Soulmate or not, as a human being creating their free will reality around you, you get to choose what you experience upon this earth plane. And again, should Andreas wish to attract a loving relationship into his life that feels like what you would describe on the human level is a soulmate relationship, he is freely able to do so, and will co-create with another individual who similarly wishes to experience the same. Getting lost in the semantics, getting lost in the do I, don't I, doesn't serve anyone. For what reason does it serve you to categorize your experience in this way? Instead, we would rather that you focus in on, again, feeling complete within yourself, bringing the love that you have to the forefront to share with others, and allowing yourself to receive that love back. That is the co-creation of a relationship that serves the collective and the individuals involved. That is all we wish to share. Is there anything else that you would like to ask us, Andreas, before we take our leave today? We hope that this message finds you well. We are the Galactic Council of Nine, and as always, we are here to support in your upliftment so that you can remember that everything that you want to access is already within you, that there is nothing that is lying dormant in the future for you to obtain. It is all available to you now, so long as you start to believe it and acknowledge that you are a divine source, spark. There is nothing here that is lacking within you, unless you choose to believe it as such. We want to remind you of how incredible you are, of how love is your very makeup, of how you are divine source, sparked from the Creator, who has come at this time to uplift humanity and to experience a fantastic life of change that has been never seen upon the earth plane before. And through it all, you have also chosen to incarnate into this earth plane to have an individual experience of being in a human form, where you will have ups and downs and good days and bad days, where you will go through the motions of life, such as relationships, careers, experiences that uplift you and which fill you with fear, so that you can choose again. You have come to experience it all. There is no need to limit yourself. This is all we wish to share with you today. We are the Galactic Council of Nine, and we are signing off to you. Thank you, Andreas, for being our vessel again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next channeling. Well, there we have it. It's been such a pleasure to share with you all about twin flames. I'm curious how you feel about what the Galactic Council of Nine said. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What has your experience been of twin flames? Have you had a twin flame relationship? Or perhaps are you in one now? I'm curious to see what you have to say on that one. As always, I welcome your questions. You can like and subscribe if you feel resonance with this channel and you did take something from today's message, or if you feel like it will help someone that is near and dear to you, then I invite you to share this video with them. I will be back next week for another channeling, and I'm looking forward to sharing again with you then. Much love.